Welcome everyone to Visionary Psychics. I'm Sara Wiseman and we're here with one of our visionary psychics, Julianne Farrell. Julianne, welcome.
Thanks. So happy to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah. We've just been talking to everyone who's been doing this work and sort of discovering how they came to this idea of wanting to explore intuition. And you have a pretty unique background because of the place that you came from, sort of a spiritual place in the U.S. Can you tell us, starting with that, what your
Sure.
upbringing was like, or where your spirituality first began?
Sure, absolutely. I was born and raised in the Black Hills of South Dakota, which is in a little town called Rapid City, South Dakota, and grew up in the foothills of that region. And my playground was these mountains. I actually even started driving at like 14 years old. But I was able to explore all of nature, going into the mountains, the rocks, the crystals. There's wild sage, rose quartz that just grows uh, amongst trees, and
Mhm.
really found a solitude and a peace within nature itself. They're known as the spiritual hills. And as I grew older, I understood that that set me very different apart from a lot of people. I'm in a major metropolis now, and so that would lay a foundation of really this calm, this quiet, this serenity that I never understood before, until I got older. And now I go back and I'm like, it's a spiritual, peaceful place.
Yeah, it's like you were connected early on to that depth of nature that if you're raised in the city, even if you're going to like a park or whatever, you don't feel that expansive interconnection of everything.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. What was the
absolutely.
what was the weather patterning like there?
It's so interesting you say that because it can be very cold and snowy in the winter, but yet it's um, big hills, big mountains, and then there's a valley. So also it's strong, really, really high winds and can fluctuate temperatures. In 1 minute, it can be 70 degrees, and in the next minute, you can have a snowstorm.
Yeah.
There's desert region as well. So it's a really, really, it's an ancient area. Dinosaurs actually roamed the area,
Hmm.
and native indigenous people, that is their really homeland that they still are passionate and fight for. And so the weather pattern itself was just very volatile.
Yeah, yeah, very active. Like, and if you were
Mhm.
paying attention, you would have sensed all that activation as it was happening. Um, did you remember as a child if you saw spirit folks or spirit beings in that place then, or when did that is that something that has started for you?
That's interesting as well. I didn't necessarily see spirit folks, but what I did see is I felt very connected to nature and the life that was in nature. So I could see the spirit of trees. I could see the spirit of
Mhm.
different formations. I could feel the water. I could feel the lakes. That was more of the spirituality. And then coming into now when I go, just understanding myself and also opening myself to another just expanded level of awareness. Now I am actually bombarded with visions and
Yeah,
spirits continuously, and really from the indigenous.
yeah.
And it's welcomed. It's not like it's a necessarily a negative thing. It's really beautiful and always filled with lessons.
Yeah, and in fact, that's probably why you're going back now because now you know how to reach it. And so you also have a pretty strong body practice or body awareness. Tell me about what that,
Mhm.
because what we're seeing is like for a lot of people who come to intuitive self or psychic self, it all starts with this awareness. Like many people do have mediumship as their first opening, but many of us also have nature or feeling sense or just awareness comes in lots of different ways. And then, so from there, you part of your journey has also been this inhabiting the body. Tell me about what that's been like for you.
Yeah, it's been incredible, especially coming from such a area that was very open, and it was part of your body, and moving your body was just part of the chemistry of the area. And then moving into a large metropolis, it was the opposite, where there was so much energy. And yoga really found me. It was
Mhm.
a way for me to clear energy and to understand the different tension and stress that was being trapped in from so many bodies and so much energy around me, that it was a clearing and a process of uniting my body, my mind, and then my spirit. And once that union really took place, then my gifts and my abilities just opened even more, and they continue to. It's as if clearing away all the
Mhm.
clutter.
Mhm. When you're doing yoga now, well, I find, uh, well, I find it really easy to just grasp intuitive information from doing nothing, just hanging out, and then it's there. But
Hmm.
when I get sort of stuck, or especially if I have something I'm working on that like I really think I want the result to be one way, so I'm a little biased, then I always, for me, bike riding or walking, or dancing, and suddenly like nothing's happening, and suddenly you're moving, and then it just floods in. And I'm curious
Hmm.
as to how you feel doing this intuitive practice as we do. We go enter in, and then bringing that to your yoga practice, and how those connect to each other.
That's so fascinating. I'm learning more and more that every time I have that, either that stuck place or wanting something to come into fruition, if I go and get on my mat, I can lose myself in the flow, in the breath, in the union. The mind comes underneath the body, and the cosmic intelligence of the body begins to lead. And then before you know it, the inner wisdom, or the question I was hoping to understand, or whatnot, whatever the situation is, it lands. It
Yeah,
just drops in.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you don't even know. Sometimes you think, okay, maybe I'll get it early, maybe I'll get it like in a practice, maybe I'll get it late, but it's always
Mhm.
such a surprise, like, nothing, nothing, nothing. Oh, there's the,
There it is.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I was out for a bike ride the other day, actually, and I was just thinking of something, and a giant eagle just came
Mhm.
across the river and went to the tree like right above my head, and it was just like, wow, this is the universe in pretty big sync. And then another, the day before, I was at the river, and I asked a question, and a big heron started coming down the river, rising up, and then the sun burst open. And so the sun burst open, and the heron's coming across it. And I'm like, you can't even make a movie like this. It's
Mm.
just so
Just
crazy.
perfect
Yeah,
timing.
yeah. And so,
Yeah.
so when you get these full knowings in the
Mhm.
body, and then do you, uh, like, I'm always testing everything, like I'll do some in intuition in mind's eye, some in the body. What's your process of gathering all the parts, like if you have a big decision to make?
Mhm.
How do you confirm and and test?
Yeah, usually it's first coming into the body, where I'm clearing the body. And then from there, it's the intuition with the claircognizance flows
Mhm.
directly through. And as of lately, I know, but the test will be the psychic clairvoyance.
Yeah.
And then, and that has been profound. So I kind of have walked into it maybe from the outside,
Hmm. Hmm.
like I should say that's the opposite, the inside out. Like I first
Yeah.
land into the body, then I know, and then boom, there's the image. Or I'll
Mhm.
ask for the image, and it's like, oh yeah, that really, that definitely nailed the
Yeah.
exactly what I thought, or exactly what was suspected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you, do you work with other people, using intuition and the body both, or is it?
I do actually.
Mhm.
Specifically, depending on their level of tension and
Mhm.
stress and what's physically been manifesting in the
Mhm.
body. So if they don't have, a high degree of of things that are plaguing inside or holding them or attached to, then I'm able to do just intuitive work itself
Mhm.
with the clairvoyance and the claircognizance. But if they are holding, and I really use the physical body as a tool, and the movement and the breath, as well as will apply into some Reiki healing
Mhm.
to be able to calm the nervous system down, to allow their own intuition and their awareness level to guide them. And once we get into more stability, then typically we can flow through even deeper understanding of what the universe is calling to them. And a lot of purpose work,
Yeah.
what individuals' purpose is, or life changes, transformation
Yes.
changes.
Right.
Hmm.
So it's interesting because in all of this, it feels like it's all about kind of like relaxing and letting, like having the question, relaxing,
Hmm.
or taking your mind off the question, relaxing and letting go, either in movement or in meditation or listening to music or doing a task, the dishes or a shower, and then it just comes in.
Yes,
It's like there's this moment where you just let go, and then that's when it arrives.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yes, exactly. When the inquisitive, almost, I guess you would say, when the small mind finally
Yeah. The like little
relaxes.
hungry ghost mind is like, tell me
Yeah,
the answer. And then it's like,
yeah,
ah, just wait. Yeah.
yeah. And really what you said, the relax is the key, is that surrender, the point
Hmm.
where the mind, that small mind, just shuts off, and finally the intuition just takes over.
What about when the answer is not what you wanted? How do you
Mhm.
personally deal with,
That's-
I was hoping for this, and then, oh, that's not how it's going to be.
Yeah,
I,
I really work with my guides and my angels on that. And
Mhm.
lately that's been happening, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I just asking for more clarification and more understanding into the lesson that I'm
Hmm.
to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm really the connection of that, my guides and my guardians, and the surrender point of offering what it is that, either whether it's my frustration, my irritability, why, that curiosity, but offering that up and saying, please, show me and allow
Yeah.
me to
Yeah.
have that divine, understanding. And it typically, and it had in the past, depending on my emotion level or even my client's emotion level, how attached we are or triggered by it. Once that starts to soften,
Hmm.
then the answers come really quickly. I can even do it now, like in a light sleep, if I'm kind of sleeping,
Hmm.
like towards the early morning, and I can start to ask those questions,
Hmm.
and like more of a lucid type of dream state, and it just comes down. The more I offer
Hmm. Hmm.
my whatever I might be going through, the more the guides
Yeah.
deliver.
How do you help people who, the answer is not what they hope for? They are called
Hmm.
to change they are invited to change in a pretty significant way that may be, you know, um, shifting of partner, shifting of job, move,
Hmm.
the bigger things that might be scary. How do you advise people
Yeah.
when that is the probable reality, or that is what appears to be unfolding?
Sure, sure. Really looking at the full perspective of their
Yeah.
soul journey.
Hmm.
And Sarah, like, you have helped me and guided me in so many ways. And then I really understand, even through our ancestry, through our karma, through our past lives, through this whole journey, that our soul, it's all about the opportunities and the lessons at hand. So even though the immediate and the right now might be painful, that even that pain is a step into that more of the liberation or the freedom of their soul, and working towards the lessons of this lifetime.
Yeah, and it feels like the lessons, early on in our soul's progression, the lessons are pretty cut and dry, poverty, illness.
Mm,
And then as we get further along, Not that I feel like I'm particularly far along, but the lessons do get more subtle. Then it's more
Mhm.
like, how can you not be triggered by a particular situation? Maybe you've got poverty sort of figured out. That's not, you've mastered that lesson, but then you have
Mhm.
a trigger around, some tinier part of that, like you're sort of finessing your releasing into soul self, as opposed to living
Mhm.
from, like you said, the small mind. I call it mind, ego, personality. You just start
Mhm.
to live from a bigger place.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
pulling in the concept of oneness and unity,
Hmm.
and I noticed that the cycles that I or even my clients tend to go through are now ancestral, right? They might not be living it. It's the residual of what
Hmm.
came from, their line, their ancestry line. And even when they can start to look at that, it's about the opportunity of taking that cycle that they happen to be in and being able to break it in and moving into action steps with momentum
Yeah.
into that realm of healing. It's been really powerful to see the shifts that can happen when we actually understand that what we're going through isn't our full identity, and that
Yeah.
we are this, tremendous soul, and we are part of a vibration of, or a consciousness of oneness, where we're interconnected and from past, present, and future. And that seems to where the transformation, when we realize we're at a breaking point
Hmm.
and that we
Hmm.
could actually shift and change, it's just stepping out of fear and walking into action. It's the
Yeah.
alchemy of that whole equation. And once that baby step and second step and
Hmm.
third habit, and it becomes, then the transformation takes
Yeah.
place.
And the baby step can be so little. It can just be a tiny bit different way of thinking about an issue in a person's life, or a tiny
Mhm.
bit different response, or tiny bit different action. It can be so subtle, and that's enough for the universe to like come rushing in with all support, like, they're doing it, they're changing, let's support
And momentum
this.
builds, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, or that
absolutely.
point that's so struggle, like where we're like, is the opportunity. And once that little shift happens from small to high, or from
Mhm.
the ego up to the highest self, it's like
Yeah.
then the universe pulls, all guns come, and like it's like whoosh,
Yeah,
and it takes place.
absolutely. Well, and it's interesting you said that about the karma and the ancestry, because right now, um, as a collective, at least in the U.S., we've been, well, more than the U.S., but we've been working considerably on these idea of the old structures and the patriarchy, and um, the old societal roles, and all of that relates directly to the generations that came before, and also the generations we were in our own past lives.
Hmm.
We had some pretty small beliefs generations ago, and now it's just, we're opening up to like, no, that is not how it has to be. No, that is an old way. No, we don't have to do it that way anymore. These small and large steps.
Yeah, and we can really open into the vision of our dreams.
Yeah.
Stepping away from that, oh, that distant dream that, oh, yeah, that's beautiful, but that would never happen. And
Hmm.
it's like, no, actually, that can happen now. And
Yeah.
we can just
Yeah.
open to it, because we don't have to live in those conditions any
Yeah.
longer.
And things can happen very, very quickly. Like I always think, with kind of awe, just how something as small as a smartphone dropped into our society, and the smartphone acts as, it's like a little trainer tool for telepathy. And it's just like, whoa, this one little thing comes in and suddenly everything's different. And the chance of something new, I think something new is actually going to drop in pretty darn quick, some piece of
Hmm.
technology, and then suddenly we're acting differently. And um, yeah, it's just pretty fascinating how quickly change can happen. And that's just a technology change. There's internal changes that happen quickly too. Well, is there anything
Absolutely.
else you'd like to add about your work, or how you like to work with people, or anything that comes to mind?
I would generally say I care about people.
Mhm.
I love to be able to listen to their story and what's happening, and really assist them in living a life of joy and a life that is filled with more purpose of why they're here.
Mhm. Excellent. Well, Julianne, thank you so much, and we will put your information down below, but my great honor to speak with you today.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks.